Hey guys, so here is your homework / Millie's first session and kind of what we experienced at the daycare together. And here's how we're going to work towards those goals that you got in your scorecard. So whenever starting out a training session, start with the basics. So here's just to gain some focus as well as start to help yourself see where and when your dog is functional. So for Millie, someone came in the door. That was a little hard, but you could see she's still doing really good with this hand targeting. So once we had some focus, I started to work on sit and wait. This one she also did pretty good at. If you could see, I asked her to sit. She was rewarded, and then she got impatient and got up. If you saw, I gave her a little cue there on the leash, and I gave her a little and she sat right back down. She got no reward for sitting back down, okay? I took a small step back. Then I released her. My release word is okay. Some people like free or break. All right. And if you ask your dog to sit, you do not want them to get up in theory until you release them. So practice that small cycle. So once I established the hand target and a little bit of her moving towards the hand, like I just did in sit and wait, we did some come when I call you. This is important to practice while she's distracted. So if you could see, there's a little bit of preoccupation with the door, and I would move towards the door. She would get a little enthralled with it. I would call her, and then she would come target the hand. The key to come when I call you is practicing it with as minimal distractions at first, then advancing to more moderate distractions. So in this next part, I wanted to see how she would do after a little bit of warm up with somebody else. So this is the other trainer, Michael. He is establishing a little bit of hand target. Obviously, he's different, and you could see she responds to that. So a little bit of shutdown, but she is still successful. And this is where establishing those basic cues really, really efficiently for her are going to be crucial for when she's in a really, really scared state, which we'll see a little later in the video. But real fast, what I had just told Mike in that moment, if you go back and replay and watch what just happened, she was scared. He presented his hand. She defaulted to move towards him, but she was still a little scared and she sat. And I would have still rewarded that for her. And in that moment, he followed through. We got the hand target. But if you see that she's trying, encourage that, especially when she's scared. So here is the fun part. I opened the door and you can see for Millie, that is a big change. So we were adjusting the door there. It started to close, but she can see people out there now. There's a few people talking. You can see her energy overall just pick up. So what I want you to do in this moment is your basic, what you had just been doing exercise. So this is come when I call you with distractions. You could see she's very engaged with what's happening out there. I call her name. I show her the hand. She knows what to do. And again, that's the importance of starting to establish those fundamental behaviors first in a training session, because at times there still will be struggles. Like right here, she came to me, right when she got to me, she was like, nope, this is boring. I want to go back towards the door. So immediately implemented the boundary. If you saw, I stepped on the leash. There was no more going forward for her. Here, I've asked her to sit, so there's no tension on the leash anymore. Then I take my big step back. She's kind of like, whoa, wait a second, where are you going? Still no tension on the leash. I'm not dragging her. I want her to choose to move with me, okay? And when she does, yes, good girl, best thing ever saw. So the next thing we worked on was walking, and the door is still open, okay? So there's still that drive to move forward. What I want to help her with, and this is going to be the longest chunk of footage for your video, but I wanted you guys to see this learning process for her in real time because it's really great. She has this habit of I call it swimming. It's when they move so fast that their feet kind of sprawl out to the sides of them. She has two modes. It is to sit and it is to swim, essentially. So I started to help her out with finding that place where she can just walk casually. And at first, she struggles with it a lot. So you could see the tiny amount of room it takes to teach this, okay? You could do this in your hallway. You could do this in the living room. This is just conditioning her brain to move at a slower pace. So you could see right there, she had a little stress shake. She's trying, she's sitting. I started to move really slow because then she's got to figure out where I'm at, what I'm doing. This leash and harness setup helps with this because you'll see if she tries to go forward too much, she'll hit that front part of the leash and it'll turn her around. So here, again, these are the steps I want you guys to take. I kind of set her up next to me and I don't want her to cross behind. And I take these little teeny tiny steps with her and she again is a little confused. I don't want to do too much tugging if I know she'll be compliant. She had been pretty good at that point. Here is that moment of realization for her. Her brain right now is very confused. If you look at the look on her face, she's like, I don't know. I don't like this. I don't really do this often. She sits, which is what she knows. And then when I start to move forward, her little tiny steps next to me, that is understanding. And that is where you can kind of start to rewire the brain. So I was really happy. And here is where things got really complicated for her. So after our big success with the walking, even though it was just that tiny little steps, I had, as you guys saw in the scorecard, knocked on one of the walls, and this set her off. So you guys experience it all the time. She is incredibly fearful of the sound of knocking. If you could see, her body language has changed completely. What I did was I essentially made her a puzzle. So I put a few cookies in cups and covered them, and I had her kind of fish it out like a puzzle. So here I had Mike move a little bit after she did a little bit of that project, and she was still afraid of him moving around. And it took us quite a while for her to settle a little bit, get her re-engaged. And then what I wanted to do to end the session on is just move with her closer to what seemed so scary. And I didn't want to shove her in that direction, but I just wanted to kind of help bridge that gap between what was so scary for her and something that's comfortable. And this is something you guys will have to take turns doing for her. She is by no means going to be a dog that is just naturally confident all of a sudden. We have to be a little bit of that gap for her. So everything you just saw in this video corresponds to the scorecard that I sent you. What I want you guys to do is try a few of these exercises. You will probably experience very similar things, and just kind of copy what we do in that small room and what you see here, okay? If you have any questions, do reach out to me. I'm confident that you guys have learned about marking and rewarding. We won't use cookies forever. They are just for the learning process. Again, just reconditioning the brain. And if you need help finding a harness that is similar to the one that I'm using, definitely let me know. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great evening or morning, whichever time you're seeing this. And I will talk to you guys soon.